China's economic growth is at a 30-year low, but Beijing is pledging to keep the country on safe footing as it kicks off its annual meeting of Parliament. Premier Li Keqiang opened the National People's Congress with a speech packed full of promises. He says China will slash billions of dollars in taxes and fees, boost infrastructure spending and increase lending to small firms. But he also delivered a reality check by softening the country's economic growth target.
Our main forecasts for this year are a GDP growth of 6 to 6.5%, creation of over 11 million new urban jobs and a consumer price index increase of around 3%.
That's lower than last year's rate of 6.6% and the slowest pace since 1990. Growth has been weighed down by a crackdown on financial risks at home and an escalating trade war with the US. The dispute has rattled financial markets and disrupted world supply chains, but Beijing says it's confident the two sides can eventually iron out their differences.
What I'm certain of is, on the opening of the financial sector, China and the United States absolutely can reach agreement. Though at present there may be a few disagreements, the problems are not that great.
A longer-term war on pollution and low-value industries like textiles has also dragged down China's huge manufacturing sector. Now, Chinese leaders are keeping a close eye on the job situation, particularly for exporters heavily exposed to the US market. One of the highlights of the speech was China's defence budget. Beijing says it'll bump up spending by 7.5% this year, outpacing the country's economic growth target. China's defence budget is closely watched worldwide for any clues about its strategic intentions. There are still genuine concerns, though, about China's transparency and just how much it's actually giving its military. Samantha Vadas, TRT World, Beijing.
For more on this story, let's bring in Qing Wang, a professor at Warwick Business School. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today, Professor. So how concerning is it that China has announced its economy is growing more slowly, both for China and for the global economy?
It has been a huge concern for the global economy and for China, but it is not unexpected. For various reasons, in particular, the end to the era of low-cost labor economy to a middle-income economy where people's income have drastically increased. So the cost advantage is gone, but also because of the trade war with the US, and that has added extra huge problem to the economy when it needed it least, when it actually needed to have a good environment to go through this transition from a labor-intensive to high-quality economy. Now, it is very much in everybody's mind whether the trade negotiation between America and China, which is currently ongoing and has some promising sort of signals that there might be some kind of agreement. Certainly, some of the tariff has been, the ones that are being said to be imposed soon has been delayed while the negotiations are going on. So looking at the sort of very recent development in the preferential status of India, for example, for some of the goods, it seemed to me, obviously I'm not a political scientist, but it seemed to me that this is something that America is sending the signal to China to say, well, we are not just targeting at you. We're being fair. We are, we are fair, and because there's so much talks about China's being unfairly targeted because it has become a real threat to the U.S. dominance in the world. So the reason why they are doing this also perhaps because China still have some bargaining chips. For example, the recent North Korea discussion, North Korea talk with Trump in Vietnam didn't go very well, and the whole journey of North Korea leader from North Korea to Vietnam was through China. So you can see how safe he is in China, from the very north to the very south of China.
Sorry to interrupt you there. So let me ask you then, we're hoping the deal will be reached imminently, although who knows when, but what difference will that make if it is indeed sealed?
That will make a big difference because there are, I think, about $200 billion goods which have been targeted for tariff increase, and that would certainly help. Again, that's related to what the People's Congress, where Premier Li Keqiang has just announced the various of a tax cut for the Chinese companies to show that is actually done to try to reduce the impact of the tariff has been imposed by the U.S. So it is every little helps, if you like, and I think, and also politically that also send the right signal to China that they are still fairly healthy environment globally for the Chinese companies to do business with.
And just briefly, what are some other things that came out today?
The National People's Congress. It's clearly a very clear signal to say that we need to be almost going back to the early days of when China, the Communist Party took over, where there was many hostile, the environment was very hostile to China's rise, if you like, to the global dominance, certainly economically. And Huawei is a very good example of that. Huawei is, for once, having the best technology in 5G, which is never happened. A Chinese company which has dominance technologically, and see what happened to Huawei, and there was so much, for example, lawsuits and all that sort of happened to try to stop Huawei to become, and also so many sort of talks between the Western developed nations, why should not accept Huawei's 5G technology because it will become a national threat. So you can see all this are related to the National People's Congress came in a time where they wanted to warn people that our environment externally is quite.
Qing Wang from Warwick Business School, thank you very much indeed. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you for joining us.